how important a launching pad might this be for the Toronto Marlies as they get started in training camp?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for Sheldon to become familiar with some of the players that are probably or most likely going to start the season at the very least with him with the Marlies, and for them to get an idea for what he's about. All the stuff on the ice is all game situation stuff. Already kind of sculpting the players' skill sets to the way that we want to play as a team with the Leafs and the Marlies. So Sheldon and Mike have done a lot of work to get them ready for this, and then they pass it on to the player development staff, and it's all come together here quite nicely on the ice.
You alluded to it a bit earlier in the week about Frederic being the kind of player any coach would love. I'm going to just elaborate on that just a little bit, because he juxtaposes a lot of the other talent prospects that you have here.
Sure. So with Frederic, I think he's the type of guy that, and it's interesting for me to say, but a lot of people who are big on statistics and analytics would say, well, he hasn't produced as much as some of these other guys, and that's true. He hasn't, but Mike uses a phrase that some guys are scout players and some guys are coach players, and every coach wants a player like Frederic on their team. And you even see him, you watch him, his skill set, his skating, his ability to move with the puck a little bit out here on the ice, and it's come so far. And I think when you talk to Sheldon, you talk to Mike, he's one of the players that they're most excited about. I think everybody gets excited with the high-end, flashy skill guys, but with Sheldon and Mike, the people who are standing on the bench, they get excited about him because he's a guy you can trust to put out there in any circumstance. He's great on face-offs. He's a big body. He plays extremely well defensively. Got great stick defensively, able to get his stick on the puck, move it up the ice, and it's going to be able to get him a little bit more assertive defensively and have him break out of our zone quicker.
And you talk about statistics, the ones that show the goals and assists, but in terms of the advanced stats, is he, I won't say perfect player, but he's a guy who shows up more when it comes to that?
He's a better player in that regard, and that's kind of the interesting. There's a couple players in this year's draft that were eligible, and then there's a guy like Frederic where, people who are pure analytics people would say, well, he's not the type of guy that might, he's not the type of guy that you would suggest taking in that spot. But if you look at the actual, you go down to the shot attempts and possession parts of it, he's a guy that charts out extremely well. So it's just an interesting kind of paradox in where we're at in hockey and advanced statistics. And Frederic is a guy that's a prime example. He's a polarizing player in that regard, but I think as he gets to the NHL, he's someone that's going to go from being, and it's interesting because baseball has gone through this already. People that they've got really strong defensive value in hockey, how do we measure that? And for us, he charts out very well in that regard.
Where does he chart out in terms of what he might do this year?
I think this year it's going to be great for him to be with the Marlies. Sheldon really likes him, and as the more he's seen him out here on the ice, he likes him even more. So for us, we don't want to just have him pigeonholed as being just this defensive center. We want him to grow as a player. We want him to expand offensively. We want him to be more assertive defensively. I think Rimouski used him, and it was great spot for his development in Rimouski, and he played so much that you could see it, especially in the Memorial Cup after the end of a long playoff run. Especially in the second and the later games in the tournament, you could see him trying to conserve his energy and be a little bit more passive and play more in containment on defense. We're going to want him to be more assertive, quicker, close on people quicker, and get the puck moving up the ice. And I think that you'll see his offensive game will expand from there.
He'll probably play with Nylander on the Marlies. What do you see for...
Oh, he won't play with William.
Oh, no, but...
on the same team, yeah. William will play center.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. He's going to play center for the Marlies this year?
Yeah. I think we've made that commitment, and I think as Mike said yesterday, he wants to play there, and it's going to be up to him to show he can do it. But he's going to start the year. He's going to come into training camp and start by playing center, and it's going to be up to him in terms of where he takes it.
What kind of growth do you see in him? Did you see in him this year?
I think, he had an interesting year because he starts with Moto. He's playing center. He's playing over 20 minutes a game. He comes over for the World Juniors. He has a good World Junior. And then he comes to the Marlies, and we shift him over to the wing, and his minutes were dropped a little bit as they started to earn the trust of the coaching staff. And then later in the year, he just completely takes off, and whatever it was, 15 points in the last 11 games or whatever it was. You see the growth in him there, and then you see him here leading the group, and physically, he's a guy that continues to work hard and mature. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see what William does this season.
What led you to draft Martin Zirkles? What was
We saw him at the under-18 tournament, and then I think statistically, I mean, you see him there, and he was outstanding in the games that I personally saw. And you know, he was a guy that Tommy Bergman and Garth Malarchuk both really liked a lot on our scouting staff, and we all kind of went and watched him in the relegation games. He was really, really good. Got video on him. He's a very fast, skilled player. His family's very big, so he looks like a guy that's going to grow a little bit and get a lot stronger. And you know, statistically in Latvia, and it's not a traditional market to be taking a lot of guys from. They're developing more and more players, but his production level in the junior league there was off the charts. So it just kind of all added together. We knew there were a lot of other teams circling. We had to pick him there, and we got those extra picks by moving down and picked him up.
He certainly looks like he's excited about this opportunity and embracing North America.
Yeah, I mean, I know Ruan Noranda drafted him last week, and we haven't had a lot of discussion. We'll have it more here, but I think it looks like he's going to play there. And which for us, for Scott Peller, you know, being in Boston, easy to get up into the Montreal area, up to see him in Rouen, and so it'll be a great experience for him. It's gonna be interesting to see how he comes through the summer. He's got a lot of work to do in terms of strength, but all these guys do. They're 18 years old, and it's up to us to arm them with the right amount of information to develop that way.
Can I ask about Zach Saar? And sure. Did you see him when you saw Casey? How did that?
Yeah, no,
how did he get this invite?
We saw him. He was a guy that the staff had liked early in the year, and then late in the year when we were recruiting Casey, he didn't have a huge year in terms of production, but he shows for his frame, he shows flashes of potential and generated a lot of shots. It just didn't go in for him this year, and he was a guy we wanted to see out here and get a real deep analysis of his skill set.
He's a big guy, which I'm sure is the attraction, first of all. If you can mold him into a player, it's a different thing, of course. But.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, we want guys who are players, and you know, bigger is always better if bigger can play. If it can't play, then we just want good players.
Were you?
Victor Love, can you talk a little bit? He sort of acknowledged he had an up and down year with the Marlies last year. What would you expect of him going forward?
I thought he was outstanding. I think he just needs to. With Victor, he's such a great kid. He works so hard. He's in great condition. He's a great skater. I think it's to embrace and accept, and I think, you know, it's going to be exciting to watch him work with Gord and Sheldon this year, is to embrace what really makes him a great prospect, which is his mobility, his ability to carry the puck, close gaps. Physically, I mean, he had, you know, some hits he had in the rookie tournament, leveled a few guys, and I think here, you know, you hit somebody, and even though it's a clean hit, you got 5 guys that want to jump you. So I think it's adapting to that. And you saw as the year went on with the Marlies, started to get a little bit more physical. He got suspended in the playoffs on a hit that was as big a hit that I saw the whole season. And unfortunately, the player was injured on the play. But he started to embrace that a little bit. With Victor, it's continuing. You know, he tries to do everything, and it's just playing within himself, using his feet to close gaps within his space on the ice versus trying to chase everybody around and make the play himself. And I think the coaching staff here, I know they will be great for him, and it's going to be exciting to see him come in the fall and in exhibition season with the Leafs and so on.
And quickly, Matt Finn, I guess he had an uneven year, first year pro. What do you see for him?
That was just a tough year for Matt, and I just throw it away and say, okay, he's got 2 more years left on his entry-level deal. He's worked his butt off in the summer and even in the spring when the Marlies were still playing. He came into camp. He didn't have a great summer. He came into camp, struggled in the rookie tournament. Then he tore his hamstring. Comes back, claws his way back in. We started him in Orlando. We got playing with the Marlies. Then he had a concussion, which cost him a lot of time. And of course, with any injury like that, we want to make sure that he's absolutely 100% ready to go and he's not at any risk whatsoever. And it was just a really tough year for him. We never got it on track, but he's worked extremely hard. He's in every day, and pushing himself. So it'll be exciting to see him. He's got our full support and a good chance to bounce back this season.
And the kid you got from Red Deer, Andrew Nielsen. What did you like about him?
Andrew. He played for Lethbridge, and I didn't see him play this year. But I know both Mark Hunter and Garth Malarchuk were huge fans of his. I think especially the way that he picked. He's a tough kid, and he's a big defender, but he's also got good offensive upside as well. And those are the types of players, if we can just continue to make him obviously stronger and improve his mobility, he's got a real good chance.
Renat Valley, if you get him at 19 years of age, how important was last spring hanging out with the Marlies, getting to go to Grand Rapids in terms of getting acclimated to what you might get from him this season?
I think it was a great experience for him, Paul. Even the games that he played in at the end of the regular season, he played at Rockford and at Chicago, our last 2 games, and he was really, really good. I think he's going to be a key member of the Marlies this year. He's a competitive guy with good offensive upside that he showed this year in Kootenay. Kootenay's staff did just a great job with him throughout the season. He played well for Russia at the World Juniors. He's a guy that can play in all situations for us, and we're really excited to see him come in. You can tell that he's worked hard so far in the offseason. He's staying in North America the rest of the offseason, and he'll be in Toronto early, which will be good. But that experience is so valuable for any player to see. I think it was a rude awakening for a lot of our guys. We played Grand Rapids, which it didn't. And I said this at the end of our season. We were up 2-0 and then lost 3 in a row to lose it. To see an elite organization like Detroit and how fast and how good their prospects were. I mean, we were a really young team, but they weren't an old team in Grand Rapids either. And that's where we want to get to. And they were just so fast, so well structured and conditioned, and it was a good lesson for all of our young players.
Now that the serious questions are out of the way, you've been keeping on tap with the Freddy to the Goat updates on TSN Radio.
It's one of the best. On Leafs Lunch there, those guys, they do a pretty good job, and I think it makes it fun for the players, right? I mean, the goat tracker comes on, and you see what Freddie did the night before, and everyone gets on the media here in Toronto that it's very negative, but I mean, there's very, very little negative throughout the year, and that's just an example of one really neat thing, and that's an experience. I think it endears Freddie to the fans, and obviously the guys at Leafs Lunch have a lot of fun with it, which is Freddie comes in right away, and every one of the players, they know the goat tracker and everything like that. So
were you taking any scouting tips from when O'Doug and Brian Hayes were they thorough enough?
No, I only take the scouting tips from Noodle. Brian Hayes and O'Doug, I put on the mute button for.